Direct from Montreal, Canada, this is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Joining me on the phone from Judas Priest, it is the one, the only, the metal voice, or the metal god, Rob Halford. And co-hosting today, or joining me on the phone right now, it is drummer extraordinaire Bobby Blotzer. Bonjour, Bobby. How are you?
Bonjour. I am very well. Thank you for asking. It's good to hear your voice. Thanks for calling and reaching out. It's always good to hear some old friends, you know?
Yeah. Now, speaking of old friends, I feel the same way. But speaking of old friends, we haven't heard from you in the news recently. What's been going on? Health-wise, everything okay?
Health is really good. You know, everything's good. What's up? Let's see. Just chilling, enjoying life, golfing. Got a new guitar. Been working on some material. Really not writing for anything. Just kind of, you know, opening up the door again a little bit and that sort of thing. I have a new lady in my life who I love, named Tanya, and she's got a couple of young kids. My kids are 37 and 36, and Michael and Marcus. These kids are 9 and 7. They're awesome, Jameson and Briggs. And doing that again at this age, you got to really try to remember what was going on when your respective children were that age. So I'm enjoying it. That's kind of what I'm up to.
Good.
You know, and then grooving with my dogs, of course, naturally.
Well, you see, mine's right at my feet right here. You can't see him, but he's right here. So let's quickly talk Rob Halford. He's got this new Christmas album out called Celestial. And, of course, Judas Priest 50th anniversary tour coming up in 2020. Have you toured with them? Have you ever been around the Rob Halford Judas Priest camp?
A little bit, yeah. That's funny. Hi, Rob and members of Priest that might be hearing this. Bobby Blotzer, wishing you happy holidays and happy anniversary, 50 years. I can feel the 50 years for them because while we never toured with Priest, and I have met Rob on several occasions and the other members, I got some cool history. Like the first time I would say that I saw Priest after being turned on to him, I was in a band with Don Dokken. And we went to the Whiskey. This was in 1977. It might have been late 76, like around November 76, early 77. But we saw them at the Whiskey, and they were late. I mean, like late going on to where the Whiskey locked the doors, locked everybody in, basically. And Priest didn't go on till 2 a.m, which is extremely rare for any club in California with a 2 a.m. curfew to have something like that go on. But in the meantime, I was back upstairs in the hallway where the dress rooms are. There was really nobody up there. Me and Don, another friend of mine, Greg, and Eddie Van Halen was wandering around the hallway. So I was shooting the breeze with him and, you know, just waiting for these guys to go on. It was so packed downstairs, so it was nice to take a breather. And then I saw, this was the first encounter that I ever had with Rob Halford. He was warming up really loud, and it was incredible to hear that voice and the power through the doorways emanating through the hallway. And he came out, and then he got locked out of the dress room, and he got pretty mad about it because he's pounding on the door, and nobody's opening the door, and he's standing back, and he's running and kicking at the door. I don't know if he remembers this or not, but I do. And certainly Eddie does, because I was down there with Eddie Van Halen at the time. And then, you know, we went down and watched him play. I didn't see him after the show. And I've run into him several times. Last time was in 2010. We did play a show with him in Tokyo. And on the way home in the plane, my seat was, you know, somewhere, you know, on the same side as them, a little up from them. And Rob walks in, sees me sitting there, and comes and sits on my lap. And he goes, "Damn, we've been doing this a long time, haven't we?" And I said, "Yeah, we have. You a little longer than me, but I was doing it then too, but I just wasn't on the stage as they were. But I think they got a few years on the boys and Ratt, maybe 10 years or something like that." I love Priest. I love their music. They are alongside, hand in hand with Black Sabbath, the kings of metal, in my opinion. You know, you got your junior versions, you know, like Maiden, And that's not slighting Maiden in any way, shape, or form. But to me, Priest and Sabbath always were the quintessential number ones that got that sound going.
Yeah.
So I tip my hat to all the metal bands in general.
And of course, Sabbath is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Judas Priest up for it this year. Hopefully they'll get in. Just before I ask you about news in Bobby's world, Mötley Crüe have announced that they're back. The 4-year hiatus, which really is sort of like a break between an album cycle. But is that exciting news to you, or is it great when bands reunite and get back together and just give fans what they want?
Well, wow, that's an interesting question, and I'm trying to ponder how I answer this with the radio answer or what's in my brain answer.
It wasn't deliberately loaded. I'm thinking of it going, yeah, that sounds like a loaded question. It wasn't, but okay. But yeah, I can see how it's...
Well,
yeah.
No, it's terribly exciting for bands to reunite, and I'm very happy to hear about Priest, up for the Hall of Fame. I just played golf with Neil Giraldo last week, and I prematurely complimented him and congratulated him on that. And he said, well, not yet. I thought they were in stone going into it. So he's a genius writer and a great guy. And obviously the Pat Benatar group, they've written so many hits. So to hear Priest and now other rock bands, it's about time. We all know that. That's old hat news. But, Mötley getting together does zero for me. I could care less personally. But, if bands get back together after breaking up, right? If it makes them happy, awesome. And if it makes the fans happy, that's what's going to make them happy. I understand it. But it's a very exciting tour. I don't know who's headlining or I'm sure Poison's going on first, but I don't know if they're flip-flopping with Leppard or what's going on. But, good news for 80s genre of metal and hard rock.
Yeah,
I love it.
Great news for fans. And there is a rumored fourth band. I'm understanding that it is going to be a different opener or a different fourth band. So, none of this has been announced officially, but I'm sort of hearing, and perhaps wrongly, that it might be one band for 3 or 4 shows and another band for another 3. Who knows? We will see if it gets announced. If right now it's all speculation, so if you're out there in internet land quoting me, make sure that you write that it's speculation. But for you, let's not speculate on Bobby. What is up with Bobby? We know that you have been silent for a couple of years musically. What's next?
Yeah.
A solo album, a new band, a tribute band in terms of getting people out there and do. What are we doing? What's next? What's up?
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because my first line of defense before the offense is to, end this unbelievably taxing situation that, the Ratt members have been going through, me and the other guys with these fucking lawsuits and stuff. Thankfully, Warren DeMartini and myself, settled ours, and it was dismissed, and it's gone, and WBS is back. WBS Inc. is back intact the way it was. And that's really all I could say on that. That's as far as joining a band, forming a band, whatever. It's nothing that I'm really thinking about at the moment. I've been doing this so long that, I'm digging the time off. I'm a little bored at times, but, what are you going to do? There's a time that things end and a time things don't. And for us at the moment, at least, it's for me, it's not something that's driving me onto the phone to, try and reach out and let people know I'm available or anything like that. I sit in with a couple friends' bands here and there, and it always feels really good. And my old lady loves to see me play. She was never at any of the big Ratt gigs, that sort of thing. So for that purpose, I would love to be doing it for her and her, her 2 kids, and for my friends and fans alike. I still play really well, I think, when I get up and play with these bands, and it feels really good, But first, we got one more of these lawsuit things that's coming to an end here very soon, and hopefully it'll be resolved like, the way that Warren and my thing was put to rest, where everybody could go on with their lives and not have to think about this, at least on my end. tends to haunt me in my sleep. Rat mares. Look for the new book.
Yeah,
that's one thing that's on my plate is a new book, follow up to Tales of a Rat.
Oh, good.
That I put out 10 years ago. Yeah,
and those lawsuits kick the out of people. It's rough. So I'm glad to hear that one with Warren was settled. And hey, tell you what, let's get over to Rob Halford. What do you think? Sounds good?
Yes.
Here we go.
Of course, naturally.
So here he is, the one, the only, the metal god, Rob Halford. Oh, the greatest is right. Here's Rob. We are speaking with the legendary vocalist, Rob Halford. Of course, his new album is a Celestial. It is Rob Halford with family and friends, as we say in Montreal. Bonjour, Rob. How are you?
Hello, Mitch. It's great to be with you again. I'm doing really well, and I'm excited to speak with you and to all of our metal maniacs and bring everybody up to speed with what's happening in the metal gods world.
Yes, and of course, I will just tell the listeners, we are going to be focusing on the album Celestial. I know everybody has a lot of Priest questions, but that's for another time and place. Let us focus on what's ahead of us here. So let us talk this album. It is not your first Christmas album. So talk to me about wanting to put out Christmas albums and sort of becoming the heavy metal Mariah Carey, if you want. And I mean that respectfully, by the way.
No, I know what you mean. That's cool. That's cool. Hey, it all kind of reflects a little bit to that previous release, the Winter Song album. And that kind of stuck with me. And throughout the years, the fans would say, hey, that was a really cool record. Do you think you might kind of dabble in that world again, that Christmas festive world again? And I said, yeah, if time permits, Priest is always forging the furnace and so many things going on. But here was an opportunity, a special way of venturing back into that world. So all the Celestial music came together while I was with Priest, making the Firepower record and touring and whatnot. And I was able to kind of hand all this over to, into an extraordinary moment where my brother and my nephew and respective friends came together, and they did all the slog, they did all the hard work, put in the Celestial songs together, and that's how it would, finally came into shape. It took a couple of years or more, slowly but surely, because there was no rush. But that's the backstory to how we got to the Celestial moment, yeah.
So I want to ask you about this, because it is the second one. Is this something that interests you to sort of go on and do more? And I'm thinking more in the sense of Rod Stewart. He started off with the Great American Songbook, and then he became the Great American Songbook Tours, and it became something, it sort of redefined his career. Is that something that you'd like to see yourself do? Not getting away from Priest, not denying the heavy metal history, but just saying, hey, I want to just go out and do something fun. I'm 68. It's time to be just fun.
Well, it's all that, and to be honest, I think that's a great word, fun. Even now, all these years later in Priest, we have a lot of fun doing what we do. That's what music emotionally, that's what it's all about. It's supposed to give you good times and lift you up and to, bring all of those emotions out of you, and whether it's at home by yourself or listening to music with friends or going to see your favourite bands. And I'm in a wonderful place, I'm slowly but surely inching my way to the big 7-0. And I'm still an active working musician, and I love it, and I'm thrilled, and I'm so grateful to all of my fans and, Priest fans around the world for giving us these opportunities still so far into this wonderful heavy metal world.
It is, and I'll just deviate quickly on the Priest thing. I saw 2 shows this year in Albany, I guess it was May. The fans aren't doing you any favors. You're delivering the goods, and if it wasn't for, those 2 shows were spectacular. So, we're supporting you because you're still firing at a high level. Let's be honest.
It's so. That's an important point. We've always said in Priest, particularly, that as long as we're able to do that phrase, it's a great phrase, deliver the goods, there's no reason to kind of dial it back or let it fade. the band's on top of the world right now with the great success of Firepower and that accompanying world tour that took us around the planet a couple of times. But you need that. It's motivation. You know, all musicians need motivation and inspiration, and that's what our wonderful fans gave us for the Firepower track. It was great.
Yeah, they really did. So let's get back to Celestial. You do have your sister on here, Sue, and of course your brother Nigel.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about that. First of all, my wife's name is Sue. I got to throw that in there. But let's, because she's going to listen, she's going to say, you didn't mention me? You know how it works. But talk to me about this, the importance of family and having them in here. And then I'm going to refer back to an interview you did 10 years ago where they were talking to your father. But talk to me about the importance of family. And, you know, was it fun just to have them on there and sort of say, hey, after 50 years of career, it's sort of like, here we are back to us in front of a Christmas tree in 1950, whatever, just singing something. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I totally understand what you mean and the saying there, Mitch. The bottom line is Christmas time is for family and friends. That's the way we've always celebrated it, you know, from being little kids to all through our lives, you know, and I'm about to celebrate it with my great niece, Harper Rose, who turns 1 in a few weeks' time. You know, I'll be back in the UK celebrating this wonderful time of the year. And, yeah, my brother and my nephew have been actively working as musicians with their respective bands over the years. And I'd always in my mind wanted an opportunity to make some of this music together. So this is where we're at, you know. It took a long time to get here, but this is again the way that music works. Some of it comes together really smoothly and quickly on a timeline. Some of it takes a little bit longer, but in any event, we reached the point where we've got this beautiful music out into the world now.
You really do. So, Art, I'm gonna refer back to this article from Wolverhampton. It's our newspaper over there, in that part of the world, and they were talking to your brother Nigel, and he was talking about how there's a big age gap between you, and yet when he would go to high school at the Frank F. Harrison School, eventually people would say, "Hey, you're Rob Halford's brother." Talk to me a little about having the baby brother and what kind of influence you had on him, because this is sort of a family time, right? The Christmas time and this Christmas album.
Yeah. And again, you know, it's not unusual for families that have musicians in them, for the offspring, that's the right thing to call my brother, to kind of, you know, take a footstep in the same direction. And Nigel and I have never really talked about that specifically. I can only presume that he saw what his brother was doing, and he got kind of wrapped up in the whole experience himself. You know, my brother went to many shows, seeing Priest as he was growing up. Same as my nephew Alex, and so yes, you know. It's just wonderful from a performance point of view, particularly because that was the other reason I felt it was important to show Nigel's great technical ability as a drummer, as well as my nephew's ability as a bass player, in the way that they represent many musicians all around the world that do the same kind of thing. You know, they come home from work, they get washed and changed, they go and have a jam, or they go and write a song, or they go in the studio or something. So Nigel and Alex are at this great level, you know. So this is also a tremendous shout out to musicians like themselves around the world that make music in one of the most purest forms, you know, which is simply for the joy and pleasure of being together in a band and hanging out and doing all this cool stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And I know we're down to our last 5 minutes. And this is the Wolverhampton Express and Star. That's where I'm coming from. they had quoted your father at that time, Barry, saying that success hasn't changed Rob, even at all. Everything he's been through, he's still the metal god. Talk to me about that in terms of, we are coming up on the 50th anniversary of Priest. How do you sort of take stock in the career and in yourself as a person, looking back on everything you've been through in these 50 years? And I know you can't answer that in 5 minutes, but sort of the Cliff Notes version of, has it changed you?
Well, yeah, here's the deal. I think your upbringing, your family, your parents, where you're from, the world knows where I'm from. I'm from Walsall, which is a very, blue-collar, hard-working place. And, it's that kind of thing. Keep your head down and get on with it, and don't make a fuss, and just do the best job that you can do. There's a simple mantra, and don't let any of the extraneous things kind of get in the way and try and twist and turn you into a different person. We're all that way in Priest. None of us have got those types of interferences. So that's been valuable to me, Mitch.
It really has. And, of course, we'll talk, of course, with Alex Hill, who's on this, who's the son of Ian Hill. Talk to me about having Alex on this, and what does he bring to Celestial?
Again, his great work as a bass player, as a musician. The guys were getting together doing all these great arrangements with Robert Jones and John Blakey, the two guitar players, and they shared every step of this way together. And they would send me demos as I was out around the world touring with Priest and Firepower, and I was just blown away by what I was hearing, and I is this okay? Do we need to change this, that, and the other? I'm like, guys, you've got it. This is sounding really, really strong. And, once we got Mike Exeter at the helm as producer as well, from the very beginning, it became a very strong moment. This isn't your kind of, pre-anticipated kind of, we know what Rob's going to do. He's going to bang out some metal Christmas songs. This is a beautifully thought out and arranged and very professional, polished piece of work. And I'm not saying that for me. I'm saying for the guys and Mike and everybody else that did such a great job. So all in all, the things that are coming out the speakers in your headphones, it's all top-notch stuff, and I'm thrilled for them. I'm very, very happy and thrilled for and excited for what the guys were able to create here.
Much has been said for the last decade about Rock is Dead. We're heading into 2020. Priest is doing shows with Ozzy. You're doing shows with Saxon. We've got Mötley Crüe, Def Leppard, AC/DC. Kiss continues on their tour. Looking at it in terms of 2020, are you surprised that we're still talking about rock and we still have all these great tours? And was that whole Rock is Dead thing just over? You know what I mean? Was it just too much of an expression?
Yeah, I don't know how that got let out of the barn, quite frankly. He just got picked up by a few people. I've always pushed back against that every step of the way, and I will continue to do so. And if anything, those great names, those great bands that you mentioned, just really kind of, squishes into the mud. It doesn't have value. It doesn't make sense. All of these bands are going out stronger than ever now. A lot of us are recording still. We're crossing multi-generations of new rock and metal fans around the world. People still want us, We're some people call us like the old guards, the old lines of rock and metal. Well, call us what you will, but we're still loud and proud and strong as ever.
Absolutely. There you go. As we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup, Rob. Always a pleasure, and I look forward to my next pre-show.
Thank you so much, Mitch. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend. Merci beaucoup. Is it mon ami or mes amis?
Mon ami, et à la prochaine, right?
Beautiful, beautiful. And I wish you all a bon Noël.
Oui.
And I can't think of the French for Happy New Year, but
joyeux année.
All the very best to you.
There you go.
Great, joyeux année. And all the very best to you, and I look forward to seeing you sometime in 2020.
Absolutely. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. See you, Mitch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Want to take a shower with Mitch? Hey, Siri, play Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
I couldn't find Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon in your music.
Ugh, she never works. Direct from Montreal, Canada, this is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
And there you have it, folks, my interview with Rob Halford. And since we've had one metal god on the show, why not make it two? Speaking of the Wizards of Winter tour, here is, from Trickster, guitarist Steve Brown. We are speaking with guitarist Steve Brown. He is, of course, with the Wizards of Winter, but you might know him from the Eric Martin Band, Dennis DeYoung, filling in for Def Leppard, Trickster, and others, or actually co-hosting here on the show. Bonjour, Steve. How are you?
Hello, my friend Mitch. Greetings from Alto, New Mexico.
You gotta love that. Now, how does it feel now? Because you've co-hosted and stuff before, but you're actually on the #1 music interview podcast in Greece. Do you feel part of that success for having co-hosted with me before?
I certainly do. I feel personally responsible for all your success over the last year and a half that I've been co-hosting. And as always, you know how much I love you, dude, and I love your podcast and the cast of characters that are involved, Alan Niven, and all the other guest hosts who've done fabulous jobs. But I certainly love spending time with you and getting the old rock gossip, if you will. And here we are again. So I'm ready to talk Wizards of Winter.
Yeah, so let's talk that. So of course, fans know you from doing the hard rock stuff and the hard rock guitaring stuff. Talk to me about this Wizards of Winter show. It is a Christmas show. Do you still get to do the hard rock guitar stuff? Explain it for a fan that doesn't know what this is, hasn't seen it, and says, hey, this is coming to my town. Should I bother going?
Yeah, of course you should. First off, yes, it's full-on guitar mania. My co-guitar player, who is the lead guitar player in the band and the primary, hard rock songwriter of the material, along with Scott Kelly, but Fred Gorhow, who was a fantastic New Jersey guitar player who I've known him for 30 years. He was in a great band called Push back in the day, and he was also recently in this band Dark Sky Choir with John Moyer from Disturbed and blah, 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 lots of great players. And he's, it's phenomenal. So long and short, it's Trans-Siberian Orchestra, only better as far as I'm concerned, because I'm in it. And but no, all kidding aside, it's a great real rock and roll band. No pre-recorded tracks, no click tracks, all live rock and roll, but with the classical influence, all that stuff like TSO, some of the other Christmas things, but this band was started 10 years ago by Sharon and Scott Kelly, again, New Jersey people. So it's just a phenomenal group of musicians. We have violin, we have keyboards, we have great drums. John O'Reilly, the great drummer, who was in Rainbow, who was in TSO for 15 years. So it's all the familiar sounds, but in my humble opinion, taken to another level.
So let me ask you about that, because when you're with Dennis DeYoung or with Trickster or with Def Leppard, it's bass, guitar, drums, off we go. Here you've got the violins, the flute. For you as a guitarist, does that change how you approach things? Does hearing those sounds, I don't want to say confuses you, but does it go, oh, okay, I got to readapt how, you know what I'm saying? Do you have to sort of alter the way you play to fit in with all this new instrumentation?
Certainly. Every time I do a new project when I'm coming in as a guitar player, whatever, whether it's saving the day or going out playing, whether it's playing with Trickster or playing with Danger. It's all a little bit of a different animal, yet it has the same sort of backbone. Everything, you have to, what I always like to say is I always have to find my space. And I go, so, how am I going to make Wizards of Winter different? And what am I going to bring to it that's going to, again, take it to a new level? So Fred Gorhow's handling, he wrote all the guitar solos in the stuff, wrote all the, the heavy rock riffs. So I have to go, all right, Fred, you do your thing, but when my solo spots come up, what am I going to do that first and foremost is going to be Steve Brown's addition to it, because I'm not going to go in and let it be known when I play, no matter who it is, whether it's Def Leppard, whether it's Dennis DeYoung, Danger, Eric Martin, all those solos that I play on those, I do I nod my hat, to the original guitar player, Steve Clark, or Phil Collins for that matter. But at the same time, I add my own style, because I've always been the believer that when you come into a project, it's very important that you play your style and make it fit for that style of music, because I've heard too many guitar players try to come into something, whether it's even being in a tribute band, like with Rubik's Cube, or when I played in Van Halen tribute bands. I never could hear any guitar player, maybe Russ Parrish, when he was doing the Atomic Punks thing, he was probably one of the best that he could really nail that stuff note for note. I find it's much more soulful when you add your own guitar parts and your own style to it. If that's a little long-winded, I'm sorry.
But I agree, and I will. Let me ask you, since you quickly mentioned Def Leppard, and I know you can't get into it because you're close to the camp, but there is this rumored Mötley Crüe, Def Leppard, Poison tour. Assuming it's real, how exciting is that?
I think it's, it is what it is. I'm happy for it. I can't say anything. Wink, wink. I don't know anything about it. So let's just move on from there. But I think it's good for rock and roll. Listen, anytime there is something that's going to be an event, and the amount of press that this tour has been getting, look, all those guys are my friends. Def Leppard, that's my family, rock and roll family. So yes, I want to see everybody. And I hear that they're going to be playing stadiums. How great is that? Rock and roll playing fucking stadiums. It's awesome. If it happens.
If it happens. And we do know that Mötley Crüe is coming back, because they put out a video on their official YouTube page. They blew up their cessation of touring contract, and people are like, well, they owe us an apology. They don't. No, they don't. I mean, maybe for having recorded Like a Virgin, yes, that they probably should apologize for.
Definitely apology for that.
They might have to take, But what's wrong with rock and roll going on? Listen, I look at my mom and I look at my dad, and they talk about Elvis, and they talk about, Gene Autry, and they talk about Frank Sinatra. And guess what? They're not in their lives anymore. They're gone. So if Mötley Crüe wants to go out and do another 10 years and give me another 10 years of whatever you want to call it, fun, my youth, please do it. Do it. Right? Don't you feel the same way?
Exactly. I mean, look, man, it's become the farewell tour. And I've seen your posts about it. The Who started this it's kind of a joke, really. It really is. Like, I don't get it, why you even do it. We all know, it helps sell tickets, but I don't know why Mötley was still, most of those guys, when they announced it, they're still under 60 years old, or close to 60. Why bother doing that? But it is what it is, man. Let's not even waste let's get back to the Wizards of Winter. I don't even want to waste any more talk about it.
Right, so let's get back to the Wizards of Winter. They did put out an album called The Christmas Dream. You're not part of it, but do you see yourself being part of albums down the future? Is this something that you're going to do? Put it this way. Are we doing this November, December 2019, or do you see yourself doing this again in 2020, 2021, and then being more part of the band and what they do?
I would love to. All I can tell you is, for being in the, project for like 6 months now, and the rehearsing and the learning project, and again, getting back to what I was saying about the guitar before, I've definitely found where I can add my own style to this. So yes, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm having a great time. We're 5 shows in now. The band is hitting their stride. We're crushing it every night. We have an incredible production for what it is, a small theater thing, and we're doing venues, from 1,000 people to 3,000 people. Shows are selling great, and all I can say is I'm having a great time out here, and the show is kick-ass, so anybody who comes out to see it, you will not be disappointed. But yeah, I hope to be a part of it. I can't give you an honest answer because we all know that I'm on the call list. So if, let's say, Hall of Fame legendary band number 3 calls me and says, hey man, we need you. Can you come out on tour with us? you know what I have to do.
You got to go. Now, I will ask you this, because your bandmate is Greg Smith, and if you look at his pedigree, he's collaborated or played on albums with Billy Joel, Alice Cooper, Rainbow, Ted Nugent, Alan Parsons. He was in the Wayne's World film, a part of the Alice Cooper. Talk to me a little bit about Greg, because he's one of those guys that's just he's on that call list too.
Well, Greg has made his career being that guy. He's first off, he's one of the great rock bass players that I've ever played with. One of the he's a very dear friend. He's a brother. I've known him for 30 plus years, since basically we were kids coming up in the business. So you don't get much better than that. Great bass player, phenomenal singer. He has the whole package. So to be playing with him, and of course, let's not forget, he's my Tokyo Motor Fist brother. He's the bass player in the band and bringing the high vocals along with myself to help Ted out. And it's great being out here. And just the other night, we're in the hotel room in Frisco, Texas, recording bass tracks for the brand new Tokyo Motor Fist record. So we're actually getting work done out here, not just being rock and roll slobs, sleeping until 4 o'clock in the afternoon and not being productive during the day. So it's kind of a win-win on all fronts for us.
Right. Those guys that sleep until 4, we call those guys the TSO guys.
Yeah, hey, man. Hey,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, there you go.
But wizardsofwinter.com, where you can find all the information about the band. But I will ask you about Tokyo Motor Fist, because I was at Madison Square Garden with Billy Joel's drummer, as you know, Chuck Berge. You helped set that up.
And he's also the drummer in Tokyo Motor Fist.
Et voila. So we were talking about that. Talk to me a little bit about this second album. When does it come out? When is it finished? Do we tour? Do we do some dates? Do we see you at a place like M3? Do we see you at Heavy Montreal? Maybe in 2021. They canceled the 2020 edition, but is it just an album band or is it a touring band?
Well, I think we've proven that already. Well, touring band is, I'm still waiting for that phone call. Don't think that I haven't thrown the Tokyo Motor Fist name into the potential fourth slot, the elusive fourth slot on the Def Leppard, Mötley, Poison Stadium show. I mean, how great would it be to be fisting in stadiums, wink, wink. But we're open for anything. Last year we did a couple dates after the first album. We played some New Jersey shows. We did the Rockingham Festival in Nottingham, England. We are definitely one of the few, let's say, Frontiers Records supergroups that actually plays shows. We've done 3. We're going to be on the Monsters of Rock Cruise 2020, which we are so looking forward to. So we're a real band. It's just not that easy to get booked. I would love to be booked on the M3 festival. Still waiting for the phone call, Eric Baker.
Yeah, it is tough, and the competition out there is exceptionally difficult. And I'll explain to some. I had a discussion with a manager who manages a bunch of cover bands. And he was telling me that these bands get all these corporate gigs and they're getting $35,000. And I'm like, how does a Journey cover band or a ABBA cover band or get that kind of money? And so when you get a new band like Tokyo Motor Fist, it's like, yeah, well, I can get the Journey cover band to come do. It's impossible. It's really a struggle. So I don't know how you do it. In fact, do you know how you do it? How do you get yourself a gig?
Well, you just have to be persistent. We have, we're working with some new agents right now, and I don't know, man. Most of the stuff that comes our way, comes through us. Monsters of Rock Cruise, of course, that's our relationship with our dear friend Larry Morand and, everybody on the Monsters of Rock Cruise. The other things have just, happened not by booking agencies, I can tell you that. And that's just, it is what it is. It's different being a trickster or being a danger when you have that, the name out there. But when you're members of Trickster, Danger, Billy Joel, Rainbow, Ted Nugent, I would think it would be easier because, with Tokyo Motor Fist, with our live show, you're kind of getting a greatest hits show along with some of the great Tokyo Motor Fist records. So listen, man, I have my theories. but I'd rather not go into that, in a public forum.
Right. So hopefully we'll get out there. And I will ask you one last more thing about Tokyo Motor Fist. I know that Frontiers has their sort of in-house production team and in-house writers that they like to get involved on every album. Is this something do they work in conjunction with you, or is Tokyo Motor Fist really just the guys and then you send off the album to Frontiers?
No, well, they have their way, the Frontiers, Alessandro Del Vecchio, the great producer, my dear friend. I love the guy. He does a lot of the records for that, like Revolution Saints. That's a band. I don't know if they're writing their songs now, but, I love that band, but that was kind of Ali's thing. And, Tokyo Motor Fist is much more in-house to where, yours truly is the writer, producer, engineer. On this new record, though, I will let some of the tricks out of the bag and some of the secrets. Bruno Ravel, great, my dear friend, is going to be helping me mix the record. He's actually working on stuff right now, so that's going to be a great thing for all the fans. I have the legend Dennis DeYoung is going to be playing a keyboard solo on one of the new tracks, which is the ballad, which is probably, I'm going to go on record as saying, one of the best songs I've ever written in my 40 years of writing songs. I'm going to say it's probably one of the best songs I ever wrote. And Dennis has agreed to play a solo, which I'm going to be recording at his house in a couple weeks. On the Wizards of Winter tour, I'm going with my portable recording studio to the great Dennis DeYoung's house, and we're going to record this solo. So that's a little cat out of the bag for you.
And that's a great bonus. I mean, holy mackerel! And Dennis, I believe, has announced that he is recording his final ever album, his farewell album. I think he said that, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes, he has, and I've heard some of it, and I will tell you, it is some of the best stuff he has ever written and recorded. It's as good, if not better, than anything else he's done in his career.
Wow. High praise indeed. High praise indeed. Steve, anything else we need to plug, or shall we just say, hey, folks, head over to wizardsofwinter.com, head out to the show. You will love it. Lots of video on YouTube if you're unsure, but go check it out. It is worth every single penny.
That's for sure, man. I couldn't be happier with this. And, we're heading in next week. We're going to be in the hometown, New York, New Jersey area. And then we hit the Midwest starting the first week of December. And, come out and see us. We're hanging. You know where to find me. I'm always around saying hi to everybody, shaking hands, kissing babies, and that's what I do. And, the Wizards, everybody in the band, great people, great players, and it's a great show.
Does any fan wearing a Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon t-shirt get an automatic free meet and greet?
They totally do. They get a free guitar pick and a hug from Steve Brown.
There you go. Steve, as we say in Montreal and Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. And there you go, folks. The Christmas episode, Rob Halford and Steve Brown. That's a dynamic duo right there.
That's it. I love you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. God bless you all, and God bless rock and roll.
Ever wonder what Vince Neil would sound like if he was a black belt in Taekwondo? What about what his favorite McDonald's menu item is? Just hold the pickles. This is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is put some Celestial on, turn it up full, and try and have a shuffle around the kitchen.
Yes. So yeah. In fact, I've been listening to it over the last. In fact, I actually saw it for sale in the Montreal Walmart, and I was like, "Oh, look at that!"
Oh my God, that's wonderful. Whenever I see my stuff or Priest stuff on sale anywhere, whether it's a Walmart or a Target or a truck stop, it's still a thrill. That's never left me. I always just get such a buzz from seeing our music, in the real world, especially the physical product, the CDs and the vinyl. It's magic. It really is.
And we should get started, but I'll just add to that before we start is I got a thrill as a fan because it's been so many years since you've seen the Def Leppards and the Mötley Crües and the Judas Priests and I walked by and I went, oh, look at that! It's not Celine Dion or Mariah Carey. Look at it was great. It was great. Anyway, let's get started here because I know you've only got 15 minutes. Okay. So here we go. We're
gonna blast through it.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm all down for that. On 3, 2, 1.
This has been Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. For more exclusive content and interviews, subscribe on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and many more. Follow Mitch on all the socials, especially Twitter, @Mitch LaFon, and on Instagram, @Mitch_LaFon. Get your Mitch merch now at loudtracks.com/Mitch.